Good. Seema, over to you for your final case study.
Okay, great. Thank you. So the problem that I was looking to solve is new team leaders lack confidence when trying to build high-performing teams. Now, despite the abundance of resources, literature about how to build high-performing teams, my assumption here was that there's still a lack of confidence that new team leaders feel when they embark on this journey. So the process I covered was looking at validating the problem, validating the offer, strategic planning, and then finally validating the prototype. So the first objective was validating the problem. So I had 4 discovery calls with team leaders in higher education. They all come from varied backgrounds and industries, so they weren't all, for example, in the tech space. We've had some one in HR, one in tech, and a few out in the academic departments as well. They all were in a leadership position of less than 5 years, because I still wanted to look at that new team leader who's sort of come into the role. And 75% of those who I did discovery calls with struggled with confidence. So some of the sort of words that came out was, sometimes I feel I can't ask for help, success from before may not work here, the team's different from what I'm used to. So they all I felt had an underlying confidence feel. So in each of the discovery calls as well, there were 3 important factors that came out: learning, autonomy, and automation. So all 3 factors each discovery call touched on. So that I felt was an important thread throughout this whole process. The sense of achievement and pride is really important to them. So they felt that they had something to prove being in this new position to their managers, to their company, to themselves. So that sense of achievement was really important. And one learning for me that I noticed was, throughout the discovery calls, I didn't know what I was going to build in terms of the product. All I was thinking about was, how do you bridge that emotive feeling someone has to something that's a tangible product? And that question sort of stuck with me for a very long time, up until I sort of figured out what I wanted to do. But I really struggled with this. How do you bridge that gap? Objective 2 was validating the offer. So the minimal viable offer I came up with, MVO, is we help new team leaders to transform into effective leaders by providing personalized advice on demand to tackle their unique challenges. So that was the MVO that I came up with. The exercise and tools that we used was the hero's journey, which I absolutely love. I think it's far better than doing a user persona, because it actually takes you through that journey of the hero from start to end. How do you want them to feel at the end? And writing it in this way, I felt it was so powerful in understanding that mindset of the hero, rather than just describing that persona of the user. So that's something that I'm going to bring into my work as well. So I created a sign-up page in Canva. You can see in the top right. I sent this to 23 people who I knew were in a leadership position. And out of 23, 8 signed up. But the key learning for me here was that people wanted to know more. They were intrigued about the AI. They want to know what they were signing up for, and how do they find out more. This intrigued a lot of people, and here the learning for me was to actually go back and do the discovery calls again, get more information, and really niche down to that MVO. So that's something that, if I did all this again, I would definitely go back full circle, do the discovery calls, assess the MVO again, really try and niche that down. Another tool that I've never used, fabulous tool, is the blue ocean strategy. So because I didn't niche down too much, I really struggled on the features that this AI tool would have. I did a Google search, and on the first homepage, there was 4 products out there on the market that gave some sort of coaching AI app or offer. And that's what I did the blue ocean strategy against. So here it really highlighted that actually I need to figure out what feature would benefit the hero, the user, the most. And I think through those discovery calls, those features would really start coming out a lot more. The third objective was about strategic planning and alignment. So I created a strategic roadmap, prototype. We looked at defining a lean canvas and the team topology as well. So the strategic roadmap, I mean, I've only got 3 sort of main areas in terms of that roadmap. But one thing I really liked about this was defining that key metric of success. Like, how do you know that you've achieved this step in the roadmap? And I think it's important, and for me, it's one of my principles, to define that upfront before you build anything. Don't think of the metrics after you've built it. Think of it upfront so you can build it in, and you can really get the sort of statistics and the measures. So the first step on the roadmap was an AI chatbot that provides on-demand advice, and the metric here was the percentage of users who have been satisfied with the response, taken the advice and actioned. And I think that's really important. It's not just giving the advice, but is it actionable? The second part of the roadmap is to look at personalized action plans. And here the measure was the percentage of tasks that are completed by the users within a defined time frame. And I think that time frame aspect is really important, because we want them to be effective. We want them to embed the actions in. It's just making sure that it's done within a time frame. So if it's not, is there a problem? What's happening there? And the third one is to sort of cultivate an online community. Going back to the discovery calls, one of them said that they actually felt very lonely in being a new team leader, like they were afraid to ask for help, and they didn't feel that they had the support around them. So that online community might be a forum that would help people who feel in that way. So the measure here is the number of active users who are actually engaging with the content in that community. So are they posting? Are they sharing stuff? Not just being a user, but are they participating in that community? So at the end of the roadmap is basically we'll build an integrated digital platform aiming at guiding new team leaders in that transformation journey. So part of Objective 3 was looking at the prototype, and in terms of the outcome wanted to achieve was to validate that the chatbot created actually guides leaders, creates that positive change, and offers a really great experience for that user. In terms of the biggest risk I felt we had to address, it was value. And it was actually ensuring that the chatbot's advice actually helped the team leader deal with that problem effectively. And because I felt that's the main selling point really of the product, is the AI behind it. So does it give that valuable experience to the user and that valuable advice? So in terms of the format of the prototype, I thought a live data prototype would be better here, because we need to teach the chatbot the natural language used and teach the chatbot the type of advice given. So further down, I'll sort of explain my thinking behind how I would do that. Lean Canvas, I've never done before. Very great tool. Again, I think all the tools I'm finding is we look at the problem first. We're bringing that problem back into the picture. So it's right at the forefront. We've not forgotten about the problem. We've not gone off on a tangent. It's bringing that back to say, okay, this is the problem. Remember, you know, it could be months before we do a Lean Canvas in reality. I like the fact that we sort of look at the USP here and we get everything defined and out down on a canvas like this before we even start developing anything. So we are taking everything we've learned and we've obtained and bringing it back onto this canvas, because I think this canvas we can always go back and see throughout that strategic roadmap is this, are we on the right track? Is this what we're doing? Is this what we agreed? So I quite like the canvas and how it's on a one page. We can quickly have a look at that. Product team topologies. I'm from a tech background. I went tech in terms of the team topology. I understand there is the business side to it, and there is that user and that consumer side that we need to look into. But in terms of the team topology here is what tech teams do we need to get in place to build the chatbot, to build that AI tool and that app. So objective four is validating the prototype. So here's like a little example of a prototype I created, but my vision was that we could use any messaging service we wanted. All I needed to know was how was the question coming through? What was that how was that language used? So we can build that into the bot. And then I would respond as a human to that question and give that advice, but I would also plug it in to the chatbot to see, is it similar to what I'm saying? Is it really different? And also, I wanted the chatbot to understand the type of language I was using as well, to make it more natural, more humanized, rather than the more static, formal type of output the chatbot gave you. So really, to validate that prototype, I wanted to do a lot of that. I wanted to sort of set up it could be any messaging service like WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger, but I really just wanted to make sure that the language that we're using is sort of and teach that chatbot really that type of natural language. So that's where I got up to in terms of that journey. My principles, determine the metrics before you take off, really important, so you can build that into the product. What's the value added? Not just the output, but what is actually the value added? And I think the hero's journey really helps define that value as well. And keep the problem in mind, don't deviate. Very easy to do. And I quite like that how all the tools brought that problem back into the picture. I would have loved to stay in the problem space a little bit longer, have more discovery calls, more calls even after the sign-up conversion, to get that really niche, and just to niche down that MBO really. Saying no to solutions that come before the problem is really understood. Speak to users who experience the problem more, and don't be afraid to experiment. So in that prototype phase, I could really experiment a lot more to gauge what works, what doesn't work in terms of some of the features. And that's it. That's the end of my presentation.
Awesome. Sorry, I've got the cleaner in. Is it a bit noisy?
Oh, it's all right. I can't hear anything. So
Okay.
okay.
Right. Noise cancelling software is working really well. Let me know if it does get noisy. I've been sort of moving around the house to avoid the Hoover. Awesome. done under time as well, which is very rare.
All right.
Good. So what I'll do, Seema, I'm just going to go through quick bullet points on the case study itself,
Yeah.
and then we'll slow down and sort of talk about, I think, general next steps and sort of observations from the 8 weeks generally.
Okay.
So
cool.
generally, I thought it was really good. Actually, you're clearly a good presenter, good storyteller. First point, I try to. There's a few things that are really important that we slow down on. So, for example, the problem. Don't just take the problem and move on. It's really having context and color around it. It's a big thing to communicate. Not in my case, but if you're pitching this to stakeholders, your team, you need them to come out of that tattooed on their forehead, the problem statement, the MVO, and really key parts of your lean canvas. Those are, if they walked away with just those 3 statements, that's a win, actually.
Yeah.
So, slow down, give a bit of context, why this problem, why not? And then maybe a little bit of where did it come from? And then you can bring in, as you did actually a bit later, the discovery call, some of the key learnings there. I thought you did a good, what I call a bridge from the OKR1 into the discovery call. So it was clear, rather than just going like, here's this massive Miro board with lots of sticky notes, no idea what it is. You said, so we did this discovery, and here were the key learnings, and then you showed the key learnings. So excellent. And I love that you dived into a specific insight, that sense of pride, because it's a non-obvious one.
Yeah.
And therefore, thinking of stakeholders who don't really get product discovery, what do they go, okay, there's something valuable about actually speaking to users. So, and you're bringing them along, you're making them curious. So I think that's really powerful when you do what you did for stakeholders. Also, I love the fact, you're sharing your own learnings as we went along. It makes it more of a story. It's more, think of it, it's like a story. We don't know what's going to happen next. Where did you go? What happened, etc. So I think that's always very powerful. And it shows a humility as well, which is a key part of product discovery, right? Basically saying, like, it's fine, we don't know. I don't know what we're going to do next, but that's part of the journey. And we've got this process that we can trust to, to lead us to the right place. I think my main critique, the MBO was a good example, a bad example of this. You said, okay, MVO, the minimal viable offer. Here's the MVO I came up with. Well, I know what it is. You know what it is, but no one else does in your company. So what is it actually? What is it in simple non-product terms? Like, what are we actually using it for? It can be literally as simple as saying, so the next step is, we sort of had an idea of the problems. Next thing, we wanted to just validate, like, were people interested in what we had to offer? That's essentially what the MVO is. It's just a way to put an offer out and say, like, hey, are you interested? So just putting it in that really simple terms means they're going to, otherwise you lose, they're going to MVO, like, what the hell's that? You've lost them. They may even think it's an MVP. So same with the blue ocean. Okay, great. You talk about it, but what is it in simple terms? Like, why the hell are you talking about this thing? Like, why is it relevant for us as the audience? And it literally is that sentence, just go, next we needed to know what are we offering, and is someone interested in it? Yeah. If you just have that little phrase with, again, any frame that you're introducing, people are going to get it. The hero's journey, on the flip side, you did a very good job of that, actually. You explained the value. It's about understanding motivation, need. It's a better alternative than the empathy map. You gave some nice example. Awesome. Really good example of how to sort of bring in a new framework. Your landing page, conversion was excellent, by the way. And it's great that they're curious. It's very easy to go, oh, shit, we've wasted it. They're curious. They want to know more. That's just the stage we're at that stage with MBO. Great. We've got curiosity. We've got like pent up demand. Great sign. That now justifies us to go to the next stage of, okay, what the hell are we going to build? And I loved, again, a little sprinkling of like the screenshot from Bhavna, because it really brings it to life. If you see a real person going like, hey, how the hell do I sign up for this thing? It again, for you as well, for confident, but for also your stakeholders that are potentially going to, unlock, the money, team resources for you to go and build this thing, much more compelling for them. I think the other critique would be try to bridge a little bit more. So connecting the dots. So rather than just going, clicking next slide and then talking about that. It's things like, say, for example, strategic roadmap. Like, where does that come from? Just adding a simple phrase at the beginning, like, once we'd validated the value that audience wants, once we validated that offer, we need to work out, like, what are we actually going to build? So we broke it down into tangible, measurable milestones. And then you go through the strategic roadmap. Because remember, these buzzwords like strategic roadmap, they don't mean anything. It's what value are we getting from them?
Yeah.
So, again, in some cases, just avoid even using the buzzword, because it forces you to just explain it in simple terms. Because that is, strategic roadmap essentially equals breakdown what we're going to build into tangible milestones. Final 2 points, prototype. I thought it was good. I thought you justified very well, like, why you chose that model. It felt, though, my one worry was, oh no, you're focusing on building something fully custom, like a whole machine learning algorithm. We always want to avoid custom building, but actually, when you talked about the testing, it was great to hear that you did just do it manually yourself.
Yeah,
exactly how I would have done it. So I hope either we're both right or we're both wrong. But so just, always though, go back to that principle of, like, is there something out of the box we can use? Like a no-code tool exists, ChatGPT would easily be a good thing to use. And yeah, that was it. I thought generally very good though. Very good. I'm always critiquing, trying to push as hard as possible. But I think general things would be to improve just your bridging. So connecting the points really clearly. And then just simple language about, like, what the hell is an MBO? And why am I talking about it? Why is it valuable? Good. And now just slowing down in terms of sort of general observations and next steps. I think, so two points. I think the first one, I can tell you've internalized a lot of the key learning, which I think is awesome. If you walk away with that, that's a massive outcome.
Yeah.
A good example of that, I loved the principles where you talked about, I want to go back and do more discovery calls.
Yeah.
That's, it shows me you get it now. You get product discovery is not just something we read a book about, like, there is a huge amount of value. In fact, it is invaluable. We cannot not do it to be successful. And it's particularly important nowadays. We're seeing 16 times more competition than 10 years ago. With AI, it's only going to go up to, honestly, I think 100x. So it's really hard to find these little unique insights that are going to make us differentiated. And then that's the foundation for success. I think that's great to see. And it's going to set you really well for the rest of your career. I think the second point was around, I know you reached out a few times, sort of feeling a little bit overwhelmed or falling behind. Like, where do you felt that came from? Was it, maybe, I don't know, lack of experience, imposter syndrome, just lack of time? Like, what do you think that was going on there?
For me, it was, if I don't understand something, or if it's something's new, but I have a tendency that I need to know everything. I really need to feel comfortable in doing that exercise and doing it well, and really understanding, okay, this is what's expected, this is how we use it. And so there was a lot of new things that I've never done before. Lean Canvas, the hero's journey, blue ocean strategy, like, I've never seen them or heard of them before. So for me, it was like something new, and I was like, I really wanted to understand, this is a great tool, I can see it working, but how do I get the best out of using that tool? And I needed to spend a bit more time in that space than what was given. So I felt like I was always chasing my tail a little bit, and I was always going back to the previous week as well, thinking, okay, we learned about the hero's journey, we did this, how do I apply it in my work? How do I so whilst I was working as well, I was thinking about, okay, if we did the hero's journey, what would it look like?
Okay.
So for me, it was spending a little bit more time in that space because it was totally new to me.
Yeah, and also to be, we package a lot in, right? So it's very natural.
I mean, it was good. Yeah.
So okay, that makes a lot of sense. So I think, two things there. I think one, everybody has that same sensation that it's like, I want to go a bit deeper on something. But in most cases, and this is not criticism, it's just I think it's a personality thing and experience thing. Most cases, everyone just is able just to crack on and not aim for perfection. And I think actually it might be holding you back a little bit there. To 100%. We want to research it. And I think one action step I'm going to give you, in fact, is say you've one of the frameworks you want to introduce. Read it more around it, go back to the video. There's further reading underneath each video, by the way. So dive into that. I think it makes a huge amount of sense. Go deeper on a specific topic. Second thing, though, is quite simply putting it into practice. It is so easy to overthink, the Blue Ocean MBA, whatever it is. Just go do a workshop in the most simple way possible, or just say Blue Ocean. Reason to not just do that by yourself. Get a first draft done, and then you could do a workshop or bring in your boss or whatever it might be. So I would say incline yourself more towards action rather than trying to aim for, because you're never going to aim for take storytelling. I was talking about this with Alex and Zainab yesterday. I've done 10 years in this. I'm teaching storytelling. Every time I read an article or book, and oh my God, there's more stuff to learn. I'm never even going to be anywhere even close to very good storytelling. So rather than stressing about it, oh my God, I can't teach this stuff or I can't use it. No, it's about just trying a few things, testing it out and tweaking as you go. And that is a lean, agile mindset that is really important for product. So I think those would be my key things is one, go back and dive deeper on each topic. You're spot on there. Second thing, though, just start putting stuff into practice. And
that's what I started to do. So the hero's journey was one of the things, for example, where in my day-to-day work, I was like, okay, well, I'm dealing with this problem, and I started to sort of create that hero's journey to sort of apply that.
Awesome. And you just get more comfortable with it. Literally figure it out as you go. And again, that's not to say just blindly, obviously there is a thinking process, research, but generally just try to lean towards action. You're picking up as you go. Good. Well, I think concluding comment, Seema, for me, you got a really good foundation. I think that was shown today as well. I was actually really happy because I felt, since getting a few messages from you feeling a bit overwhelmed, my worry is that you'd feel a bit weaker on the core topics, but actually you came with a really good foundation today. I think the main next step is going just a bit deeper on some things. MBA was a good example. It's you clearly get it, but the more practice you get, the more you can just explain it in simple terms.
Exactly.
So that shows, you can still go deeper. I think you can get a bit more mastery with these things, but that's absolutely fine. This is first repetition, good foundation. Now it's just practice. I've literally written practice. Just put it into practice. Awesome. Well, look, thanks so much. It's been really fun. And
thank you.
I'll reach out in a month about the AI bootcamp as well.
That'd be great.
Really
thank you
good
so much for your
Prod
time,
MBA.
Henry, as well. This has been an amazing course.
Awesome. That's great to hear.
It.
It's always good to hear. Thanks, Seema. Well, I'll reach out, as I said, about AI bootcamp, and that's a really good compliment to Prod MBA as well. So excited to see what you come up with.
Looking forward to that. Cool.
Awesome. Well, have a great day.
All right. You too. Bye.
Bye.